This thing that I have found is what I would call my gracious space.
My name is Jeff Kane. For the purpose of this social media rabbit hole interview, the Curly Man. As the Curly Man, and for the first time in an interview, I'm explaining how and why I'm claiming the crown to be the world's first podcaster, influencer, music streamer, and person to ever have followers using public phone lines to go viral. The names, of course, of the programs today for that which I pioneered were not even a dictionary blip on the horizon at the time of my answering machine phone casting. Yep, I used answer machines to get out to the public. It would take 25 years before the word podcast was introduced in 2004. Influencer, as we know it, came into being at 2002, etc., etc. There's a piece of audio coming up that you will hear, which is real. I found it unknowingly left on one of the answer machines by a mother admonishing her daughter for ringing my service, having seen a first article on me in a daily London newspaper and tying up the family phone line. I used it as the perfect jingle for many, many years ahead of every program. Feel free to question this Mad Hatter in the comments below. I'll answer everything you put there, and check the other links, including some great vintage BBC footage and programs from back in the day. The year I started influencing and entertaining the public down phone lines, 1979, 45 years ago. And it went on very successfully until 1993, when something called the internet took over for the general public. Now, a quick change of clothes and over to the studio.
Hello, everyone. Jack Carlisle here. I am with Gracious Spaces, and I would like to say always I'm high atop Old Town Orange. And today, I cannot tell you, weeks and weeks and weeks have gone by that I've been looking forward to this day, because I have in front of me, I think, one of the most interesting men in my life that I've known. You are, yes. Depends on what character you brought with you today. But today, folks, I'd like to welcome Jeff Kane.
Have you phoned them? Yeah. Well, you're not to. Why? Because it's 1:45 and it's all too expensive. What is it? Oh, come on. No, not come on. What's it supposed to be?
The Curly Man.
Well, who is the Curly Man,
His
Ellen?
mastering phone.
Yes, so I gather, and it's talking a lot of rubbish. What is it all supposed to be in aid of?
I don't know. I read
No.
it in the Evening Standard.
I see. Well, then that's that, darling. Don't listen to any more. I want to phone Daddy.
Jack, thank you very much. You are on top of Orange, as I can attest for the steps I've had to come up.
And we're not in a cardboard box.
No, and there's a reference to that. That's why he says that. I didn't think this place, in fact, it's majestic.
Yeah, well, thank you.
But there was a reference to a cardboard box that you may well ask me about.
So what I'm doing today is something that I wouldn't say everyone can jump in to do, but I have a podcast, Gracious Spaces, and it was a dream of mine, and it's come true. But Jeff, you've got something way more interesting than podcasts came on the scene roughly in 2004. They've grown to popularity. There's one about every genre, every subject, every matter. But you've got something very special that you brought to the world, 45 years ago?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what I'm talking about right now.
Even though we've talked, I'm always feeling like, where do I start? I do know there's a start.
45 years ago, let's jump.
And I do have a podcast thing that now when a child, and I nearly had this happen to me, now when a child is born, its name, parents, place, and then there's another line that says podcast. That's how prevalent
it's very prevalent
podcasts are.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked. You can get it, but you've got to get the content. So, and I think there are, in fact, is it 4 million podcasts out there? There's something of a huge
amount.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like birth certificate, next move in life podcast.
Yeah.
So how did Curly Man start? The name, I got the name before I had the product. And I know exactly how it happened and where it happened. I was in this sweaty London disco, and it was really cool. Small space, dance floor probably wasn't bigger than this space, but you're all huddled up, and it was it was sweaty, it was smoky, it was a great dance vibe, and it just was. So the DJ, who I didn't know, I'd seen him many times because I was a regular, went off to have a pee, and somebody does a bit, and then he comes back, and then he says whatever, and he wasn't a talking DJ, he's got on with the music. He said something, and the fat man is back with you. I thought, oh man,
you needed
4
a
marks
name.
for saying who you are, because you were. In fact, he was a fat Jewish guy, but he didn't say the fat Jewish guy is back. He just said the fat man. I thought, that is so cool. It is him.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I want a name, who am I? So I had all
got
this
you
curly
thinking
hair.
there.
I didn't want the thin man, so I thought I'll be the curly man. So I got the name before I actually had a way to use it.
Okay.
And even when I was DJing, I wasn't going in clubs, not radio, DJing clubs for 5 years. I was just Jeff Kane. The curly man hadn't come to me.
So you're creating
Mad
identity at this point.
Yeah,
you're sort of
without a use
branding
for it.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want me to go into how I started broadcasting down a phone line?
Yes, absolutely.
Go?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, and I did a few, I came out of DJing, and because I'd worked at night, I was used to those hours, and I couldn't see me in a day job. So I looked for work at night, and there was this photographic job at night. It wasn't sleazy, it was the opposite, and it was the most mundane, but it gave me the hours I wanted, less than a DJ. So I went into that, and actually, as I said, London in those early years was growing, and so many possibilities, even though that was the 70s. It grew, and I grew with it, and it went great. And I had this wonderful job where I was employing other photographers. What we did briefly was I worked in tourist joints that were themed. So to give you an exact theme one, there was a Scottish one.
Right.
And they catered for tourists coming to town that would come en masse. So any given night, they'd have upwards of 200 people sitting down for dinner, and they did all sorts of Scottish things.
Based upon that theme.
Yeah, it was,
Okay.
and what I'd morphed into was the guy that totally interrupted your dinner, which is the way it was done.
Sort of like this
And
obnoxious
it was a
figure.
bit like a clay shoot. It was like, there's the clay, bang.
Yeah.
So you would say to somebody, and you would be right to the point about it, you go, oi, hello, you. And they would look up with food and everything and take a picture.
And at this point, were you calling yourself the curly man? at this point?
That was
Okay.
that was before I jumped forward. I was just going to my work, so-called work situations,
Right.
what ran up. So I did that for a while.
Okay.
And then a few pals noticed that under the regime of the British government, nothing was able to be done unless the government did it on phone lines. But creeping in was the Japanese phone stuff that was now being made, certainly here in America. America got it before we did.
And you're referencing answering machines?
With
at this
answer
point?
machines, push-button phones, anything of that ilk. I saw the first cell phone in a briefcase costing many £1,000s, huge. So we had a guy in LA, a friend of ours, and the whole thing morphed into, why don't we start this phone business in London?
Okay.
Mates put in our money, scraped it together, and did utilize a small space in the front of one of these venues that was onto the street in Trafalgar Square. So it was a good venue, good space, and the owners, because I'd worked there for so long, said, yeah, you can have that space, we're not doing anything with it. That became our phone shop. And
So
we
you
got
were
all this
selling
stuff.
these new
Yep,
products that were coming onto the
was
market.
Way I was trying to pay the bills.
Ah.
That was my job.
Okay.
And in amongst that, answer machines, which that was probably the biggest and wanted factor of any new phone equipment. You could get a message from somebody without being there.
Sure.
The rest is
Oh, and back
extra.
in those two, weren't you paying by the minute from phone companies?
Oh.
You're being charged.
Well,
So-
you're talking about answer machines serve the purpose if you're not there, obviously.
Sure, but there was still a bill involved back in those days, and by the minute, I think.
Well, the longer you keep anybody on the phone, somebody earns money.
Yeah, sure.
Back in those days, so yes.
Yeah.
So I'd got my first answer machine. Didn't have a problem because I had my DJ background. I had recording equipment in my house just for making tapes, like music tapes. So I had the ability to put a message on, although initially I think I obviously just did what anybody did. Most people were frightened of them. Literally, if you'd have said, go in that cage with that cheetah or put a message on your own answer machine, they would be thinking about it. I'm not kidding you. It was a no-no.
Well, I think it was a fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
what is this?
How do I record it? And you're going to hear
where's it going to go?
Obviously, to make sales, they had to do that.
Yeah.
And not very long after I got it, I decided I cannot be doing with just a boring message why I'm not there. I have to make a vignette why I'm not there.
Yeah.
So I had the ability to sound effect. I had BBC sound effect records. Okay, make 20 seconds of why I'm not there. Okay. That would make sense, but was crazy. So, why am I not there? Because I'm out running.
Right.
So, that's going to be one. I did many different ones, but so you hear me running, not really, it's sound effect, running on gravel. You can hear running, and I'm voicing the message.
Added that to
panting.
it. Yes.
Can't be here. Oh, no, in a screwy voice. Not
so
in
this
my own
is
voice.
in an effort to relax people, make them think, okay, this is really this is okay that we do this. It doesn't have to be serious or
I often liken myself to the clown, who is in my book the most serious person in the circus, because he has to make you laugh.
Yes,
but he's a clown.
Yeah.
So there's some way if you think about that, he has to make you laugh. That's his job. But he's called a clown. So. And I thought I like that. That suits me, and And the more I got figured out my own skin of how I could go out and do that without feeling ashamed or stupid. And don't forget, on an answer machine, you're just there in the room.
Yeah.
It's like us doing a podcast. We have no idea what anyone watching is going to say or do until they put comments. So I made a few of these because then I realized you can't do one.
And there was a time limit too. You couldn't just
20
carry
seconds.
On. Yeah, you couldn't go on and on and on. Yeah.
20, I'm going to have a little sip. Is that all right?
Oh, absolutely. So yes, you had to fit that message you were going to give them in that time frame, and hopefully it came across very thorough and solid.
I mean, that was down to my DJ skills because you had to have timing skills. Otherwise, you'd clear a dance floor.
Yeah.
And if you cleared a dance floor, you didn't get paid. And bang, there goes your career. So I had good timing skills. And to this day, I say you can always tell a DJ because his timing on anything is perfect.
Yeah.
I worked it to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And
so through our conversations that we've had, and you're always actually a pleasure to, there's so much to learn from you and glean from you.
I don't know if it's learned.
But there was a point where you were taking like a Post-it and posting it all over town with your phone number.
Okay, so
right?
we jumped a little bit, and I need to fill in to that. What happened to get me to that? So I don't know, 6 months or so of making these. But the thing that was definitely happening that was like quite worrisome was that obviously I'm picking up the phone because it's my normal home phone line.
Sure.
And then I pick up and go, hey, and then there's like silence, and then who's there? And then there's a giggle. I was like, oh, shit. I put the phone down. I knew, because it happened a few times, like, they didn't want to talk to me. This is a stranger for some reason. I didn't quite know how that fed out. How did a stranger get this? And it happened more I put different tapes on, the more it happened. And there was one finite Yahoo moment. When this had got so bad or so good that I had to go, holy shit. I'm losing my phone number, and I caused this. Now, what am I going to do about it?
What do you mean losing your phone? People
I would get strangers calling up. They don't want to speak to me.
Yeah. They wanted to hear what you had recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's a friend calling me. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize the power of what I created.
That's what a phone is for. You pick it up.
I had no knowledge of the power of wanting to hear something down the phone line that had never been done before.
So let's clarify for those folks. So then they're calling your phone. Now tell me again how they were prompted to call your phone to listen to these messages.
I think, because I haven't got a written proof of this before the publicity, I'd go in a store and ask to, when it comes in, give me a call.
I see.
One
So,
way. And that was an easy way for me to understand how it got passed on, because I had no control of that. And they'd call, and if I wasn't there, they'd get this. And then they would go to somebody else in the store, you got to hear this number. And he would get. But more importantly were telephone exchanges. Because in those days, you still had local telephone exchanges.
Sure.
Which meant the operator was there, not plugging you in, because we'd advanced on that.
Connecting.
But they're still there, and they could overhear conversations. So I guess the phone company itself did a lot unknowingly to literally patch these people in to go. And I know, because when it got going, I would ask people on a program, how do you get me? How do you find me? And they would say, we're phone operators from so on, we're phone operators. And then, but the magic Yahoo moment, because most people wouldn't have done this. And I'd had that phone number. So imagine you've got a phone number, your cell number, you'd had it 9 or 10 years.
Sure.
And you're doing something with that number that causes strangers to call you. You've got to make a decision. Do I see where the great unknown is and give the number away and lose everybody I haven't got the number of?
Okay.
Because I had a load of people in those years. I didn't know their number necessarily that would call me.
Right.
But the adventure of the coin drop that you could broadcast to the world, and you can, of a phone number, was so powerful that I thought, I'm going to give the number to the public. And that was my Yahoo moment. And many people would have said, I've got to stop this.
It was happening anyway, so why not just run with it and see what happens? Was that
I'd got to that point
thought?
of run
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
And then I realized I'm losing my phone number.
Yeah.
And that was a landline. There were no cell phones. Major decision.
So we've got these new machines that are coming out there where you can leave these messages. You're trying to help these people relax and use these messages and these phone new toys, so to speak, in the phone world.
Yeah.
And then so you're basically just saying, hey, give me a call back when you get home so I know it's working correctly. And then all of a sudden it just started snowballing and created this big mass of people calling.
It was.
And became entertaining at some point.
It was really, well, I mean, even though I'm the one saying it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not someone, as you know, because of the way we met, I don't put something out half measure.
Yeah.
I don't put it out 9/10. If that's not 100%, it doesn't go out. So those 20-second vignettes were perfect vehicles.
Yeah.
They were rude as well. They were naughty.
So opportunities there, and you're getting you're getting everything from
it's like,
crazy antics to hello, it works.
It gave me a platform that I didn't realize what I'd unearthed, and it was a lot like, how is a diamond created?
Yeah.
It's just a piece of rock in the earth. It's created by so many elements coming to that point to make that, with human interference, become a diamond. That's exactly what happened.
You've got this little nugget. And
I was in a position in time where I could let out my creativity on a new vehicle that was meant for something. And I thought, when I made that decision, it could be a radio station on the phone.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yeah.
And that thought was totally unique
Yes.
in those years.
Do you think
1978,
you think those folks enjoyed the anonymity of it all? That they didn't know that they could call and kind of release whatever.
Yeah. And I played into that big time on the you're not going to know who I am factor. I love that factor, and I'm a big proponent of curiosity kills the cat.
Yeah.
Don't give them everything. Give them something and let them figure out who.
Yeah. On average, how many people were you listening to on these?
Well, obviously, I mean, I have the figures from the phone company, and I'm still looking for that piece of paper. I think I was getting, when it started, when it was on the one line, I think I was getting 600 or 700, obviously, after some publicity. I was getting 600 or 700 calls a day.
A day?
Yeah.
And you took
But
the time.
it worked up to that.
Yeah, of course. It had to start down somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking within a year of giving that phone number away, I'd already got the first publicity.
The phone company must have been like, "What? Who is this guy?" Well, they loved you, right? They were driving up.
They loved me and hated me.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with you, probably.
Well, they didn't, and I didn't either. There was no way I knew where I was going, and at one point it was driving me mad because I was now committed to doing something initially every day. I thought, I don't know what to do.
Well, and at the height of it, you were listening to every single one of those, the 600 or so that you were getting.
If they left a message.
If they left a message. So out of that, how many people you think left messages?
Excuse me. Gosh, in the early days, they were all confused anyway. I mean, there was a beep, and there's
probably didn't know what
the confusion.
Yeah. And then some took the initiative to leave a message.
Yeah, I mean, most didn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
I did make the message say leave a message.
Yeah.
But most were dumbfounded when the recording was going on. So I heard silence. What was that?
Well, I know for me, I would feel compelled to leave a message.
Well, you would be one of the very bright ones because most had no idea, especially if been passed on.
Yeah.
If you were the real person I gave it to,
yeah,
you would, because even though it was friggin' daft, you would still go, oh, it says leave a message. But your product's here, blah, blah. But as a pass on, you got to listen to this.
Yeah. Your phone number is just floating out there.
Yeah, well, I realized I had started something. I didn't know, certainly didn't know where it could go. Didn't know what it started. I only know people wanted to listen to my bizarre sense of humor down a phone.
So how often did you change that?
Oh, it's King Charles ringing me. I forgot to call. Even that works. I forgot to. It's seriously I'm going to take it off.
Is it the palace? The palace is calling you?
It's seriously, and there's a reason why I did that. Not because I'm wacky. I don't know if my phone's ringing.
Oh, yeah.
And there are a million called you, but nobody has got Rule Britannia. So there you go. So that we didn't plan that, and I'm going to try and turn it off.
I think Ma Bell knew we were talking about her.
Maybe.
She's like, there he is. We got him.
So I'm going to actually power off so it doesn't interrupt. Leave that. If you leave that in, that's great. I didn't plan that, but that's a part of me, and it's like works every time. And funnily enough, I mentioned my friend Mr. Bond to you earlier. Okay, so I just changed my phone, and at home it's an apartment, so you can often see somebody else in the hallway. One day it rang. And it had voice recognition.
Oh, my goodness.
I swear to you, and it said James Bond is calling with that sound. So it was, I couldn't have planned that better.
Not everyone.
But, I mean, so I just love this.
Your antics continue throughout life.
Man, you and I have a business deal with the product that we do. You know that.
Yes.
I have to have a way that tickles the funny bone.
Yes.
And if you love it and I love it and we make money on it and the public loves it, everybody wins. But going back to drive myself mad, and if you start to think about it, even though as a DJ I'd never written scripts.
Yeah.
So I had to start to format this.
Because earlier you said you didn't know kind of what this was about or where it was taking you. Did you have any idea in your head, could you define what you at least thought was happening? Like you had these people randomly calling in, some leaving messages, some not leaving messages, some were a little risque, some were probably...
I knew is that the Great British Worker, we have a word called skive. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
Skive means when you look like you're doing something, but you're not.
Skive.
So I did realize very early on that I tapped into a genre of worker that should be making phone calls, work calls, but they found something else to call, but looked like they were working.
Yeah.
So that, when I knew that, I thought, wow, this is a whole untapped market of people that should be working, look like they're working, but they're calling me.
Yes.
So I played on that. So to stop going nuts, if you can think of, you have to you can't just, I never use profanities, you can't just keep coming up with this stuff.
Yeah.
And make 20, 30-second messages, bang, bang, bang,
How
every
of-
day,
how
every
often do
week.
you find yourself changing
Well,
those?
initially, I guess I would have let it go for a week before I realized it's going to die unless I change it.
Yeah.
So weekly, then twice weekly, then 3 times a week.
I would
And
love
I had
to
no
have,
format.
well, I would love to have known how many people would call knowing your pattern. Let's see if he changed it. Let's see what he's
Well,
done this
here's
week.
the thing. Why
Yeah.
I certainly want to do the podcast, because like I started, I don't know where this is going to take me.
Yes.
And one of the really, especially with England, and I know anywhere can get this, and there definitely are people around from the day. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I found a couple of them, but not enough of them. So if finding them, if we can find them, you'll get your answer.
You're referring to someone who
Yeah.
did make that call
And I had
to the
hundreds of thousands of regulars
yeah.
when it got big,
Yeah.
and when it became a real business. So I had to format it or go mad. So I
Yeah.
formatted the week that I would read through the papers on a Sunday, and do the news. I would twist the news. Had to twist. And Monday and Tuesday, so I ran that. Wednesday,
Now,
Thursday.
when you say twist, would you?
There were real news stories.
They were real
Yes.
facts.
Yeah,
You
no
just
fake
put your-
news here.
You just put your
Twisted
spin to
news.
it. Can you think of an example
Oh,
you would have
man,
done?
I knew you were going to put me on the spot.
Were they weather related, politically?
Oh, no. What they would have been front page news.
Front page
Whatever
news.
front page news.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot remember. I had to do it every
It's
week,
okay.
so I had to go through the papers. And I went through 3 or 4 Sunday papers marking what could I twist. So that was the format. I knew what
Jeff,
I could
did that
do.
come natural to you, or did you have to sit there and think about it and script it out, or all of a sudden you read, I don't know, truck runs off and lands in
Oh, you've
chicken
got such a
field.
great point.
So
I have
did
to
you?
I have to tell you this true story.
Okay.
I mean, embarrassment to me, true story. But in my quest to get, maybe from the viewer listener, I'm jumping here, but Jack pointed on such a moment that I have to tell you about, and I've jumped ahead. So I would be a guest on anything that would have me in the curly, anything. I'm going to curly man you. One of the things that I jumped in on was a friend of mine was a pirate radio DJ,
Okay.
land-based, and a very good station. It was well known, it served the area, did a good job, had a proper studio, but it was still a pirate. They were not sanctioned by the government. It wasn't one of these pirates that had to go up on top of a 50-story building, and you did, to put a broadcasting aerial up. This was a bona fide studio, and they did a good job. They were serious, they had good jocks. And my mate was one of these jocks. He said, why don't you come on and do the Curly Man? Great. So I had this DJ character that I did that was my... Nothing fails with this character because he's an accident prone. He talks really quick. He's a cockney. So anything that mishapped, I could cover by the fact you knew this guy was a mishap anyway.
Just kind of a
right?
role, yeah.
So I decided to, and that was one of my characters at the weekend. So I decided to be that character on his show.
On his show.
So he played records, was a music DJ, put some local stuff out, and then somebody said, wouldn't it be great if the Curly Man read the news? Yeah, I'm up for it.
Okay.
Mr. Brave Guy, I'll do it.
But
So
in the
the show-
Curly Man's view.
No, they'd written
Just,
it.
I
I had to read it.
They had, okay,
But
they had
here's
it all.
Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah.
And I was good at doing this because I had to do it. And the trick of reading anything written when you're broadcasting is read ahead with the eyes.
Yes, sure.
Your mouth is about a second behind, the eyes are ahead, so you know it's coming. So here I am, and I'm going like a train on this. In this
fast.
voice.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's the news. Here we go. Straight away, this is what's happening. And that was the character. So I'm about 3/4 down, and I see the next bit, and I can't stop that character. The next bit was about a woman dying in a fire.
Oh, no.
And I'm barreling on as this lunatic, and I read it like that, and I have like, I'm not going to say what
Oops. You're
yeah,
not-
oops, times 1,000.
Yes.
Couldn't wait for it to be over. Go, I didn't just do that. I didn't.
But you did.
And I learnt from that.
Yes.
Or don't be a clever dick and read it cold, because that was my clever.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me, I can read it cold.
Give me the news. I'm on a roll. Here we are.
Never, ever did that again. Never read anything without reading it first to know what I'm reading.
So to answer my question, it took you had a little script before you did these.
Oh, me as a curly man on my thing?
Oh, yes.
Always.
Yeah. You thought it through. You thought it through.
Yeah, I mean, reading the news and going, that's a whacked out story. If I just seen something and turned it. So it would always be, not every story had a turn in my head. Yeah. So I obliterated it. And I would record something off a TV where I could make that look like they'd said something else.
Right.
You know, it might have been the beginning of fake news, but in my mind, it was funny news.
A lot of firsts with you. You're a pioneer,
yeah, I did a
Mr.
lot.
Jeff.
I did. The vehicle gave me a lot of avenues. I was the first to really DJ a show down the phone line and put music down the phone lines, although the phone company had dial-a-disc, which was a disc a day you could dial and listen to. But I turned that on its head and made a whole full-on show that later, when we got funded and we became a business, you were one step away from streaming music down a phone line. I remember when we got the whole business going, that I asked the boffins, can I get a stereo down a phone line? And the only way then, seriously, and these were major boffins, who were behind the company that made the computers, they said, well, we could do it 2 phone lines. Put 1 phone in each ear. And I was almost jumping at that to get stereo so you could really hear the thing. You couldn't play the phone unless you were a techie guy.
Well, in my view, I think you're bringing something special to someone's life or moment. Yeah, it's an emotion, and to know that they could pick up this thing, the phone, and listen to what you've done, you're bringing a special part to their day that they want to escape from, or just see what you've done, just the excitement of where you might go next, or what you might say.
It was quite a Frankenstein moment. I had created a monster.
It's a very good description.
And I couldn't kill it. I had to feed it. And that, when you create a monster basically for good, not for evil.
Right.
And you see where that monster takes you, you're on the back and you're riding with it. And the avenues it takes you to are stunning. Yeah. In like, wow, that's never been done.
Right.
Why, I've got the vehicle, and bear in mind, a year or so into doing this, I was a T-boy, the DJ, the studio owner, the broadcaster.
A lot of hats.
The whole damn lot. Yeah. No rules or regulations. None.
Well,
Zero.
No one knew what to regulate.
Well,
this is the first of something.
I never dropped an F-bomb. Yeah. It wasn't clever enough. I mean, you hear of prank calls with F-bombs. It's like, really? You need to be clever.
Too predictable.
Come on. So I had to really be careful on that level. But the biggest thing that people couldn't understand that I did, using a phone line, my major hit was, and they didn't do it often, but when they did do it, the phone company, British Telecom, the only phone company, so major, would try to entice the public to use a phone. They would have huge ad campaigns. Huge.
Yeah.
Billions. It's like the British phone company, encouraging you to use the phone. So when they did that, I went, okay, here's my opportunity. So I took all the ad and the verbal of what they were saying, I twisted it. And can I bring the T-shirt in? Because
sure, absolutely, yeah.
I don't know which camera? Oh, that camera. It's not even looking at me. Okay. So that shows you.
Read that for us, Jeff.
Okay. The curly man does it in your ear. So all my little...
And there's your phone number.
Yeah, and
Boom.
One of them was it's short, curly, and below the belt. And there's a phone number. So they were all naughty. But the reason for showing you this, apart from the fact it's 44 years old, is the image. That image was a direct take on the British Telecom advert that they did. Now, you'll see a little bird on top of the phone pole.
Yes.
You see it? That little bird was known as Busby. That was Busby being the phone thing, give me a buzz.
Buzz. Clever.
So create this little character, and that was the ad. And when I turned it and made a whole thing about it. I know because people would say things by then, couldn't believe they were using the phone line to hear me knock the phone company. So
well, here you are, again, a first. I mean, I would call that influencing at its best. You know?
I mean, apart from saying what I think I was, influencing without a doubt.
Yes.
Because I must be the first influencer with strangers using a phone line.
Well, you
to
had
the
this
public.
major company that doesn't know really kind of what to do with this whole situation. So you're
Right.
like, well, I'll tell you what to do with it. I'm going to make some T-shirts and put this out
Well,
there
that
for the
came
a little bit.
This came late. Don't
Okay.
forget, I was
Yeah.
pioneering for 6 years, Jack.
Yes.
6 years ago, what am I doing? You know, eventually having a wonderful, beautiful girlfriend who didn't, and she called the curly man the muse. Because there was me, Jeff Kane, her, and the curly man, which was right in the middle.
And don't forget about Busby in there.
Well, Busby turned
I know.
out to be very fortunate, but again, fast forwarding, and we'll talk about the meeting with the bigwigs, the suits
Of the phone company.
of the phone company,
Oh, my.
the top guys. I was like, it's going like.
So
having a-
did they reach out to you?
Well,
and say,
I
hey.
mean, I don't know how much I'm fast forwarding on this, and it is a bit bitty, but forgive me. And I don't.
good.
I've said to Jack so many times, I don't envy you interviewing me because, man, oh man, this is 50 rabbit holes.
Well, it satisfies a lot
it's
of my
like-
ADD and all those things. so
it's
let's
very
roll with it.
loopy, Jack.
Yeah.
But
But there's a connection to it all.
Oh, it does all
And it
connect,
absolutely, obviously comes together as
But you're
an incredible.
you're firing stuff at me that jumps years and goes back a year and ends up over there and comes here. But I mean, the major thing that I'm claiming, which is what got you and I together at this level, is all these firsts that I'm claiming. First to do a podcast, which is never called a podcast because that didn't exist, right? But if
Yeah.
you look at what I did, tell me it's not a podcast. First to stream music down a phone line with a live person, even though it was recorded, but giving you the ability to choose what tracks you wanted to hear
Yes.
down a phone line. First to influence the public, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without any shadow of a doubt. And I mean, influencers now, go to it. Great for you. Well done. I understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. But y'all need to know somebody did this without these names attached to it 44 years ago and made a huge success out of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was hoping to have the TV footage here today. I haven't quite got it yet, but I did a lot of BBC TV interviews, including being interviewed by the same interviewer that interviewed the Sex Pistols for that notorious interview they had on the BBC that was live, and everybody can see this on YouTube. It's there. If you Google Sex Pistols notorious BBC interview, you'll see that interview where every C word, F-bomb, you name it, was leveled at the interviewer. Went out live. It was the biggest furor you can imagine. But that same guy interviewed me, and I've got the footage. I didn't do any F-bombs.
Did you walk?
That wasn't me.
Did you walk into that nervous or no?
Oh, I walked into every interview. No,
Yeah,
the worst for me, and for the most part, I didn't want anyone to know who I was.
Yeah.
I loved Who is the Curly Man. I loved it. It worked.
The mystery behind it all, the
Yeah.
curiosity.
But
Yeah.
every so often when major TV said you want to do that, I go, oh man,
It's a whole nother.
I cannot not do
That's
it.
exposure.
There was, yes.
It literally.
Now,
you're
there was
exposing.
one, Britain's biggest known TV interviewer. It was a household name. Terry Wogan is his name. I think he's passed now. Major. Every household knew Terry Wogan. Major. Lovable guy, Irish. Did an interview program, and he was really great at what he did. So he's doing a live show. And they said, we'd love you to be on the show. It's live, and you're coming out the audience. It's live in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
And I was like, 9/10 of me said, you hate this shit. You're not good at it. You're going to be nervous. And the 1/10 said, look at your audience.
Yes.
BBC. National.
Yeah. Huge.
And I will never forget that day. I did it. I was sitting next to somebody who was also at that time going to be huge. Wasn't, but was like me doing something. And you won't know her over here, but you certainly will know her history if you Google it. Her name was Paula Yates.
Okay.
Paula Yates was married to Bob Geldof.
That we know.
Now we're starting to ring some names.
Yeah.
And she was also married to the lead singer of In Excess as the years go on.
Great man.
Tragic story. But Paula Yen was young Paula, and there was me, Curly Man, next to her. So that was sort of major for me as I look back. But the worst part, and this is a major interviewer, and they played the day's program on the loudspeaker throughout the entire. There must have been 500 people in that auditorium.
Yeah.
Played it out, and I'm like, because I know I did it, but I'd rather they play something I gave them to play than hit the day when it landed. So I go up, and Terry doesn't hit one bullseye. And like, I know I can say what he's going, whoosh, whoosh. His researchers had got it wrong.
Oh, no.
And that's a game because there's nothing to bounce. So I was politely, this is a major guy, trying to, and it was like if I was ever red, it was then, and I had a lot of beard on. But man, I was devastated.
So he was missing the
after
mark.
that. Devastated.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough anyway, 45 years on getting my crap. But then, when it was going on,
yeah.
And no, it was horrible. Horrible, man. I don't have that footage, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would love to have it, but I don't have it. And the only other mishap, I was up against known household DJ names. There were 5 of them. I was the 6th. To be the first VJ in England. 6 of us. MTV hadn't come about.
What year was that? Do you roughly?
81.
81, yep.
About 81. And I had a friend of mine. We jump forward here. But I was running a phone shop in a very hip area. And our clients were very hip. Mm-hmm. So many hip clients. Dame Edna being one of them.
I was going to ask the obvious. Any celebrities in it?
Filled with them because celebrities want the new equipment.
Yeah.
But this guy who lived upstairs knew about all my Curly Man stuff, and he was sort of the producer for the whole putting these VJs together, which does have another connotation nowadays when you use that shortened version of something, VJ. But then it was for playing music. So our deal was, you had 15 minutes to do a promo in a real studio about your thing. And they were all household name DJs. Me, this unknown with maybe some potential, they said, you got 15 minutes. What do you want with the studio? There had to be phones everywhere and mayhem. And
the aesthetics.
Yeah.
And that helped tell your story.
And I was horrified, like I had to do it again. But how am I going to get myself around live doing this to camera and mic? And what's the theme? I had to introduce the Eurythmics. What the hell was it? I've forgotten it.
Eurythmics, Annie Lennox.
That was my track to interview to bring on. I did it, and then done. Whew.
Yes.
So left the rest to the good Lord and whoever's out there. Had that have worked, my whole trajectory would have changed. They aired it. They aired all of them at the Edinburgh Festival to the audience. What do you think?
So they were used for sure.
Mine, it was used. And mine went...
Didn't connect with anyone.
I was like, and I have a magic connection story to about 5 years ago that connects that to Annie Lennox. Yes. But I don't think you want to jump that far. And I met Annie to do this.
So someone did connect with you, and you mentioned Dame Edna a while ago. So that was, I would think, a fairly cool honor to tell a little bit about that story and how.
Can I use the real word for crap? One of my shitty moments. I know it's just gracious spaces, but there's some. You can edit it out. shit, I'll say it slowly, exists. And this was a horrifying moment for me, breaking barriers. So moving on a few years, and my use of an answer machine was so heavy. And I realized the prowess now. I've got something in a commercial world that I am the heaviest user testing answer machines of anybody on the planet. Anybody. So therefore, if I endorse your answer machine, that's a great endorsement.
Yes.
Hundreds of people a day are using that machine and it's still working. So I thought the next obvious barrier breaker for people who can't make messages on their machine is to make a series of messages for you that you could just play and then record on the machine.
It's like you're always thinking, what could be the next thing? How do I keep continuing
I made a rule
to be relevant?
I made a rule, Jack, and I hold today. And my friend who brought me up today, and I have to say a big thank you to Shad for all the difference he's made in my life.
Very sweet.
And still to this day. I maintain that every day make a difference. And certainly then, I had to have something every day that took me to the next thing the next day. So even if I got a phone number and I could ring it the next day, got my deal today.
Yeah.
Had to be something. Got to do this next week. Every day had to be a positive step.
Meaningful.
To take me on the next part of that journey.
Yes.
I could not have a day. And for me, it was very easy because nobody had done it.
Yeah.
So everything was a journey. So I made these tapes to that camera. Okay. Short curlies. There we are. We all know what that is. But literally, it's a real thing. It's short curly band messages for your phone. Okay. And these were on a shelf in the store to be sold. And there were about a dozen of them.
So here you are, the curly man, selling your own.
Yeah.
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 And but no one really knew.
No, I would talk them through it.
Okay, yeah.
And they'd come in from an answer machine and I said, look, we also have these. And I did them and they're professional and funny. And one of them, now I don't know if you're going to, can you close up on this? And again, which camera? That one? That one. Right. Well, let me point to it first of all. Okay. It's number 7.
We got you.
It's number 7. Tell me if you got me all right.
Yes.
It says, Edna recites. Number 7.
Number 7.
All right.
Wait, I'm curious. I'm curious who's number 6.
The others were just... Number 6 is the secretary, which I got... I had a great lady who worked with me. I did get a lot of nice ladies that wanted to be part of this because I always needed women in it, either to be the queen or a sexy cleaning lady, anything that was another connotation on this world of mystery down the end of a phone line. So the woman that I owe a credit to, certainly, and I'm still friendly with her today, she's in England, her name is Peter Heskell, and she was my go-to gal at the time. She was my other announcer on the news. Yeah. She was very much involved in it. And this number 6 is called Secretary. And I've actually got the recording. And she is a sexy secretary saying why the phone is not bitten. But not too rude because this is someone else's thing. And there's a lot of all over the place. There's a French maid, which is also her. So
people buying that tape had a variety,
a huge variety
of what they could use.
Purchasable now, folks. There's 17 on there.
Well, you know, they say, everyone, they don't like to hear, some people don't like to hear their voice recorded and listen back. This is a gym for those people.
Total point. So I have them all. And I'm fairly used to seeing, Jimmy Page came in one day. So I'm used to seeing, wow. So my wow on this particular day was, I'm not going to give the punch, but you might get there already, was a gentleman who dressed up as a woman and was a household name in England, certainly Australia, and I'm not sure then here, but is now.
Later, yep.
So Barry Humphries comes in, and I'm on fast forward in my head. It was like, get rid of the tapes, but I can't. And this is
to remove them.
Oh,
so,
God,
so
yeah.
you don't want bury.
I've seen this ahead of it happening.
Yes.
And don't forget, you're only seeing that. So
Yes.
you're not seeing Dame Edna. It's not even on the back.
But if one were to pick it up and open
Well,
that,
you've got to open it and look. It's like,
yeah,
why
it
would you
be
do
there.
that?
Well, there might be
Sure
some
enough, be careful of what
legality
you
in-
wish for. He wasn't outward. He was very inward, and a real presence. It was like very stoic and very, wow. You knew you were in the presence of somebody who had achieved something.
Yes.
So that was frightening in its own right, because I am me now, and I was like that then. I'm still kind of cheeky chap. So I go up to him, and like I don't know who he is, and I go, "Good day." I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but it was how you took somebody in the store. "Good day, sir. Can I help you? Welcome." And he stood there, and he just looked around like that. That was unnerving in it, because you expect
You're
an
like,
answer.
what's happening? Yeah.
Like, dude, you're a huge celebrity. At least say hello. Nothing. So I was already uneasy. So he just looks around. I said, "Well, what would you like?" He said, "I'm looking for an answer machine." I've seen it already, the whole thing, knowing not what he wants. But I have seen what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because nature of life. So he walks around, he looks at everything, he picks one of these up in his hand. I am literally, I wish I had a diaper on, because this is dangerous now.
Yeah.
All right? I personally, not someone else, am impersonating a celebrity without asking them and selling the voice.
Yeah.
Picks it up, he
little bit of
opens
a-
it, and life was in slow motion then.
What's going to
What
happen
the
next? What legal team is going to
Yep,
come crashing through
absolutely.
the door? And,
This is major.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact he came in like a god, so I'm already like, wow, I am up a creek with nothing. And it's not like he came in, "Hey, how you doing?" Scary.
I'm seeing a twist to this, though.
Picks it up, and then he says, "What's this?" Literally, this is exactly what he said. And I don't think I've been caught in the headlights too many times, but often when I am, I'm stuck for any lie. I can't
You
lie.
can't, yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah.
And
Not
I
you.
sheepishly must have said, like, "It's me." "What do you mean it's you?" He really put me through the ringer. He said, "It's you doing what?" I said, "I'm pretending to be you."
He wanted to hear you say that.
It was, oh, dude. If this were the days of smartphones, that would have been recorded in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And put yourself there. I mean, I don't know what celebrity you would do it with and go, "I've ripped you off, and now you're telling me I ripped you off. And I'm
Where's it
waiting for
gonna
the
go?"
bomb." Because the
Yeah.
way he did it all, "Where's the bomb?" And then he goes, okay, puts it back.
Okay,
And then he says, "I
yes,
want
sir.
an answer machine." And I was like, and? I didn't say and. But
I've
obviously,
escaped.
so he goes through. I then turn into answer machine salesman, giving the best thing going on.
Yep.
Where's this going and where's this going to end? I hope it ends him buying it and me cashing the thing and giving them the machine. He buys the machine. And then part of the bomb gets loaded. He said, "I'd like you to do two things." I said, well, yeah, do I have to bend over and where am I going with this? And he said, "One, I want you to install it," which is part of what we did, and I knew how to do it.
Okay.
He
Easy.
said, "Two, I want you to make my message."
And your heart probably just.
I couldn't believe what he said.
Like, did you ask him to repeat that?
I
Okay.
can't recall. I was very scared. Seriously. I probably could have ended everything in daylight right there. Because I ripped him off.
Yeah.
And he had a case. He had the proof in his hands.
Yes.
And he said that. Gave me the address, made a date, and then left. So I'm like stewing. Is this where it's going to go down? Is he going to do whatever
Setting
he's
you
going
up.
to do in his apartment? So I kid you not, when the day it came,
SWAT team comes
even
out
though
of
it was Barry Humphries and Dame Edna, I seriously made sure I told every friend and the people in the shop A small shop, wasn't big. Where I was going at what time, and I absolutely said, if I don't come out within... You have no cell phones, there's no way of calling. Given a couple of hours, you need to come looking for me. I'm serious. Jack...
You had no idea what to expect.
There's some celebrities have some serious crap that you don't know about. You don't have to look any further than Jimmy Savile. If you look at what that guy did who he was, you know they can hide stuff. And you'll never know.
Walking into this.
You'll never know.
Booby trap.
Right.
Who knows?
Because he had one on me.
Yeah.
So I thought, surely he does not want me to do my version of him.
But
which was an Aussie, hello folks. It was like that. I thought, no, he can't be that's the ultimate humiliation. And I didn't know.
Put you in a corner. And
I was killing myself. Fitting them. It's a wonder I got the wires right.
Were you trying to talk yourself out of it?
No, because I had to sell the machine.
You're going to own up.
Well, by then.
It's your job.
Yeah. I was so much on the line.
Yeah.
And here again, unknown territory. And he didn't refer to it, laugh at it, say well done, nothing. It left me hanging. And I was in there, probably took me 20 minutes to wire it in. And and I had to be on the floor to do that. So I'm already on the floor. Is he going to kick me? Is he going to hit me? I didn't think of anything sexual, but...
I can only imagine he is savoring every moment.
Oh, dude. I mean, I was savoring it in the reverse. He must have been gloating, but he didn't show it, Jack. No emotion. And then came the moment. And he said, now the message. And I was thinking, I can't do it as him. I can't even find the voice. And I said, how do you want me to... I must have been like, how do you want me to do it? And he just said, do it as you.
Ah.
Okay.
The curly man.
But even so, normal voice, like a butler.
Yeah.
And I'd done a tape of Butler, so I was fairly used to putting it on that accenty, high-class way.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay. I thought, well, I've put the machine in. I've done the message. All he has to do is pay me. I think he put a deposit down. He had to finish it off. And I can get out, but there's still a window.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could draw this on because it felt like 100 years, but I got to say, I got out, he paid it, I had my voice on his machine.
I wonder where that is today.
And I got the story, but you've got the picture.
Yes, yes.
The picture of me and Edna is here to be seen.
Yes.
Now, how we're going to do that at this stage, I'm not quite sure, but I made sure I got that picture to prove the story. And there were a lot of those stories, but that was seriously
And your friends were happy because you came back.
Yeah, it was major scary, Jack.
Well, Jeff, here's the biggest question of them all.
One?
Oh, it's a huge one.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing conversation. I think we should continue this on a second episode.
Oh.
Would you indulge me and do that for me and spend some more time with me today?
I think you've underestimated this Englishman sitting on your couch.
So much more to tell. I would love it if you would hang out and we continue this on a second episode.
Without a doubt.
I've got your permission.
With what you've scratched, I would say you're 1/10 there.
1/10 there. All right. Well,
thank you. It's been a pleasure, seriously, of getting this far and having this bringing out all these weird pioneering stories of.
Well, I appreciate you sharing these. This is an amazing journey you've taken on your own. But look what you've brought to the world. You've kind of pioneered some of these things and just a highlight of my day for you sharing that.
It's hard for me to sit on that crown or wear it like that, and I wasn't prepared to. I may just add what triggered me to be on this crusade, to want my place in broadcast history put down there.
A well-deserved place.
I was reading Vanity Fair about 3 years ago, and there was a 6-page article on influencers. And I thought, justified. I didn't like what all of them did, but I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. And then I thought, wait a minute. If Vanity Fair can do 6 pages on influencers, who would like to do a drama documentary
Yeah.
or a severe podcast on the guy who was right there in the beginning of influencing the public to ring him on a phone line listening to the shtick he put out.
Well,
it's the same thing.
Laid the groundwork.
That was when I started my crusade
Yeah.
of wanting to get my story out there.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows about it.
Well, I am honored you shared that with me.
Honored as well, Sir Jack.
And I look forward to continuing the conversation. And thanks for listening to...
You say that now.
That's right. I appreciate everyone listening, and stay tuned for more from Mr. Jeff Kane, folks.
Okay, help you. Blessings.